Now we're live.
Live. Will we
Okay.
be able to edit it?
uh, sure. In theory.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'm Jeanette Turpin. I have a master's degree in early childhood education. And this is Nancy. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, I'm Nancy, and I almost have my master's degree in early childhood. A few short months to go.
Yeah.
And
We'll see how this goes. This is our first podcast. Um, say how we met.
Jeanette and I met at Stonehouse well, just Stonehouse, but it's an early learning center for birth to 5-year-olds, I believe. And Jeanette was a grad student there at the time when we met in early childhood, and I was still working on my undergraduate degree, just
In
working in the
speech and
toddler classroom.
language. What was your undergrad?
Communication
Communication.
sciences and disorders.
Yeah, yep,
I
there
was
we
going
go.
to do pathology, but then I decided to continue on with early childhood instead. So, yeah, that's how I know Jeanette, and she really helped form my views on early childhood, so I'm thankful for that.
Oh. Well, you probably have formed mine back because you like to talk about things and make me think about things and ask a bunch of questions. So, um, yeah. So we both have worked with kids of a bunch of different ages, and I hired Nancy away as soon as I became a director of my own program. And then she was my lead teacher until she moved away.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I haven't found anything as good since.
And you never will.
No.
Oh, and also, this is a mug you got me when I worked with you. I chose to drink from it today
Oh,
in honor of our first
very
podcast.
symbolic.
Yeah. Okay. Well, do you want to give a summary of the article?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Um, the article that we read is about the new normal Barbie that has come out. Her name is Lamely. I hope I'm saying it right.
Yeah.
And she has curves and stretch marks and stickers that you can put on for acne. So she's very different than the typical Barbie that we've known. Jeanette, what did you think of the article?
Um, well, we'll put the link to that article. It's a really short article about it. I'd like to go read more stuff from the guy that actually made it. Because what did it say he was? He was uh,
A graphic designer, I think.
yeah. So, and he said that he was just wanting to make a more realistic Barbie doll, which is interesting to me because Barbie already remade themselves. The now Barbie has smaller hips, a bigger waist, and a more gigantic head. I don't know if you've seen recent Barbies. They look a lot less. They used to look really like in their faces. They used to look really lifelike to me, and they just look kind of cartoonish now to me.
Yeah.
But I was a Barbie connoisseur, not the Barbie brand necessarily. I never called a Barbie doll Barbie ever, or Teresa or Ken. That was never ever their names. We had family dynasties. My older brother, who's 4 years older than me, used to play. We played Barbie Mafia and stuff. So I have a big attachment to Barbie. And so anyway, so it's really interesting because Barbie already redid this themselves because of all the scrutiny I'm sure that's going on. I'm sure they didn't do it just out of the goodness of their heart. But and some of the old Barbie clothes don't fit the new Barbies now, obviously, because she has a bigger bigger waist.
Yeah.
So that's kind of unfortunate. But so anyway, I mean, it obviously is going to happen. I mean, there's already other dolls around. I don't know. I don't know. What do you think? I need you to start me off. I'm just rambling.
Well, um, I think that it was a good step in the right direction, but um, kind of a small step because um, she's still she's still just one thing. She
Yeah.
doesn't really celebrate diversity.
Right.
She It says that she's based on the average woman, but the average is just a compilation of a bunch of
Yeah.
different people, and nobody is really average. So she
Yeah.
still doesn't represent a norm, really.
Hmm.
And she's still Caucasian. It's like we kind of need
Or
a
brownish.
lot of,
She's kind of brownish.
yeah,
Light brown. Yeah. But I don't know, but
yeah.
there's it's
I
she's
did
not
read
she's
another.
uh-huh. Go
Oh,
ahead.
I did read another article that said that she could be seen as Hispanic or
Yeah.
biracial because of her color. Um, so yeah, I can see that. Um,
Yeah. But then they said that they were gonna do a boy, which is good too, but yes, it's still, I mean, yeah, just one. I see what you're saying. Not there's not a community of varying Barbie doll or Lamely dolls to show that
right,
people are different. This is just saying this is a less, which I mean, and from that perspective, that is kind of I mean, obviously the original Barbie doll was a Barbie doll and their proportions were unrealistic, of course, but that wasn't ever what it was meant for. I mean, it wasn't ever
right.
meant to represent a real person. It was a very functional doll, that actually moved like no other dolls had moved. Um,
Yeah,
but so anyway, from that perspective, Barbie should be allowed to be in that community to me because there are people that have thin waists and nice curves. I mean,
yeah, I
that's
agree.
that's
And
that's a realistic thing too. And to say that that's ridiculous or gross or unrealistic or unhealthy or something, that's not true either. I mean, there are
right,
people that look like that, and that's okay too.
yeah, we kind of, um, yeah, that whole concept kind of vilifies people who actually do look like
Yeah,
that. And um, yeah, there are people, like you said, who do look like that, even though
yeah.
it's not the norm. And um,
But like
if
you
you watch
said,
that video,
nothing's the norm.
right, right.
Yeah.
And if you watch that video of the kids in the
Mm-hmm.
article that you had mentioned, um, one of the little boys says that the the Barbie looks like she thinks she's better than everyone else. And so, I mean, that kind of gives everyone then the perception, everyone has the perception that people who look a certain way think they're better
Yeah.
than other people, and
Yeah.
um, which probably isn't the case in most cases.
Yeah. Well, I mean it's um and people still do it all the time and they don't see this as anything bad. Blonde jokes and stuff or saying I'm so blonde. Like I don't even know what to say about that, but um yeah, people say it now and I want to say, do you see me standing here?
Yeah, no kidding.
Kind of was born this way. And that's it with skin color. I think about that too a lot because, I mean, just growing up and thinking about race and learning about race and stuff and whatever white privilege and all those things. And then thinking about diversity and thinking that my skin color isn't represented on anything, like anything at all. Like, there's nobody that's pale.
Yeah.
And like Cassidy when she was little, and just learning colors and had them down. I asked her what color my skin was on my arm, and she said blue because you can see the veins through my arm so much. So
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
blue. I asked another kid, and they said yellow, and I asked another kid, and they said pink because my face is so flushed all the time, basically. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's not on any. I mean, almost nobody is shown, and I've been paying attention probably for the last 2 years to that. That until what's her name, Merida in Brave, the movie Brave, the new Disney movie.
I
Do you
haven't
know that?
seen
No.
Brave.
Okay. Well, she's an archer, and she's a really strong female character, and that was probably for sure the point of her is that she's a very strong female character, and
Yeah.
isn't sexualized and doesn't want to have a husband, and is, sabotaging her getting married off and stuff. Anyway, she has red hair. It's one of the first redheaded, other than Ariel, I guess, but one of the first like redheaded, freckled people. And then when Frozen came out, they have freckles too. So it's actually starting to happen that they're having freckles being an attractive thing. I mean, before that it was like
Right.
Raggedy Ann that had freckles, and like that was it. Pippi
Yeah, and not very
Longstocking had
realistic
freckles.
freckles.
Yeah, and then I've been watching, and guys that have red hair I mean, and I don't have cable right now. I watch Netflix things. I'm not up on all the new things, but redheaded boys are almost always villains or bad guys. It's really interesting, and a lot of
Oh
times they're
wow.
like
Yeah.
really sleazy bad guys too, like really gross ones. The only
The
example I can
kid
think
in
of.
A Christmas Story comes to mind
Oh,
when you
yeah.
do that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Do you remember? Did you ever watch what was it called? Salute Your Shorts. Long, long time ago
Oh
on
yeah.
TV. Budnick.
Yeah.
Budnick. I think that was his name. Yeah, he's redheaded and freckled.
Yep.
Oh, and a lady that I used to work with said stuff about gingers all the time too.
Oh
Like,
geez. Yeah.
and
We
it
have a lot of
as a category. Like, I mean, and I know it's a joke, just like the dumb blonde thing's a joke. But like, seriously, how is that any different than
right.
you
People
know?
don't think about how it singles people out and
Yeah,
hurts
yeah.
feelings.
Saying, oh, she's a ginger. That's why she's so whatever, controversial,
Right.
hot-headed. You know.
Right.
Um. So yeah, it would definitely be
Which
good
just
to.
goes back.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Well, it just goes back to our culture's focus on appearance, and I mean, you're saying, I mean, there, people attribute personal qualities to the way you look, and
Hmm.
um,
Oh, which reminds me, they said that she has no makeup, which is
oh,
interesting because the average woman that's outside at least wears makeup. Like I know
right,
very few people who specifically don't wear makeup or, usually it's like, oh, I at least go out with whatever, mascara on. I at least wear
right,
eyeliner. So I think it's really interesting that they specifically said she doesn't wear makeup because if you're really looking at average in America, American average 19-year-old, she should have makeup.
right, right. They're still constructing their own idea of
Hmm.
what should be beautiful and what should be strong and what little girls should look up to. I
Right.
mean, that they should
Yeah.
look up to someone who doesn't wear makeup, that they should look up
That
to someone
has,
who,
oh, I didn't even think about this. Soft hair, the video, the way they were
yeah,
talking about it, and they emphasized that for so long.
they did.
And that's, I mean, I can't, if it's really what kids were saying and focusing on, that's interesting. But the way that they did the video, and I guess I should describe it because not everybody's going to go look at the video, but they did a video where they had they were second graders, I think. Is that right?
Yep, second grade.
They're second graders, and they gave them a Lamely doll, or however you say it. Hopefully, it's Lamely. We're going to go with that. Um, and it looks like they had two different things where they first had him take the doll out and just talk about it, and then they had a second part where they had him have that doll and a Barbie doll, and both of them were in swimsuits, the Barbie doll and the Lamely doll. And they have to have coached it a little bit before. They said they had a lady come in and ask them a bunch of questions to begin with, and then they individually did it. But just there was a
Right.
lot of consistency in the language that they
Yeah, I kind
used,
of thought
and
they were probably leading questions.
yeah, yeah. But so anyway, so when there was a lot of them, and they showed them taking out the Lamely doll and describing her, and a lot of the girls talked about soft hair. So that's what we're talking about is the soft hair issue, and and they were saying like it's just so soft, and like they were amazed by it, and later on a lot of the girls say I already have a Barbie, so I mean it must be specifically soft for them to be so
Yeah,
fascinated by it, which is cool. But it's just interesting that they would pick that to put in there when you're talking about aspiring to being realistic or yeah, include culture, which I mean, yeah, what do you think the point really is of making the doll? Because it's not cultural diversity, like you said, because
right.
it's not talking about diversity. It's it's
I
what,
I
being
think
more
that
realistic, right?
yeah, and I think that his goal, the creator's goal, was to create a doll who more girls could relate to, but I don't know that it really does that, because can that many more girls relate to this doll than can
Right.
relate to Barbie? And it does give a more realistic weight to aspire to,
Right.
or
Yeah.
instead of the anorexic, which
Right.
that's Barbie. Um, but as far as them marketing the doll as the new normal, a
Right.
more normal Barbie, I kind of always take issue with the word normal too,
Yeah.
because it's just like we've talked about, what is that anyway?
Yeah.
Um,
That there's normal, but normal is only as functional. Yeah, the average, when you take all of the statistics of the world and average them together, that doesn't necessarily make a real person, you
right.
know? Yeah, it's just,
Oh, and that's another thing, is that she represents a certain age and a certain health, a certain
yeah.
style. So it's
Hmm.
more than one. It's one person or a team of people, maybe, I don't know. Um, it's but for the most part, it's that one person's view of beauty or normalcy.
Yeah. And I mean, hopefully what you said is what he's doing. Hopefully he'll take a bunch of different averages from a bunch of different populations, you know.
Hmm.
But then what about the person who is naturally, on the higher end of weight? Which I'm guessing he made stretch marks and he made pimples and stuff, so I'm guessing he wouldn't be opposed to making, one that's more heavy.
A
But
bigger
then are you
doll.
saying, but then the point, I mean, the point again, so what? Are you supposed to then get the bigger doll and then aspire to be the bigger doll? No, because you shouldn't aspire to be any doll. You should.
Right.
That's not what you should be looking at a doll for. I understand representing unhealthiness, but that's another thing. I've always thought about this because people have always complained about Barbie, and it might just be the way I grew up where I just didn't care. Um, and I didn't really ever watch Barbie shows or get Barbie books or anything like that.
Hmm.
Mostly because her name was Barbie, and I thought that was pretty lame. That Barbie was always just Barbie. But yeah, like it was never about her age. I played with her as a grandma, and I played with her as you know a teenager that was old enough to get married. We'd switch out,
Right.
as they got older and stuff. Um, and I never felt like it was something. I just felt like it was a shell, a shell of a thing to hold the personality that you're giving the doll at the time. And I
So
don't know. I mean,
it's more of a tool for pretend play and imagination
yeah,
than it is something to aspire to be or to be
yeah.
like.
Um, and that, I mean, that goes along with, I mean, we didn't emphasize the fashion aspect of it either because that was, I mean, that might just have been the way I was raised or my personality. I was bored by just changing their clothes all the time. Like, there's so
Right.
much more that you could do with it. And like, actually, we hadn't bought Barbies or anything for Cassidy, who's 4 now, but we got some donated to us by a teacher that I worked with, like a whole tub. And
Yeah.
there are no boys in the entire collection. No boys. And she just gets bored with it, like right away. Because what do
Yeah.
you do with a bunch of girls with pointed toes? They dance and they sing, and that's about it. I mean, and
Right.
and like I can't even help her really establish a storyline because it's really just the same. Yeah, I mean, it's just hard
Right.
to do. But I never saw it as fashion. And really, people say, well, Barbie's, they basically joke about the fact that Barbie has all these careers, that she's had, marketed and stuff. But it's
Right.
really cool that she's had that. It's not that you could buy the accessories for it, that she can be a doctor, because it's really cool to play doctor with like we have a one of Cassidy's one of our friends' mom, so made up grandma, fake grandma,
Mhm.
gave us a doctor that has a clipboard and a degree from graduating
Oh,
from
cool.
vet school, and a
Yeah.
thermometer and medicine and I can't even, stethoscope that like goes around her neck actually. I mean, it's really cool having all of
Cool.
those tools and having a miniaturized version. and because it's so detailed and realistic looking, it feels like the same kind of play as when, or really close to, as when, when you dress up, actually. When I'm playing
Right.
doctor and putting
Hmm.
on the stethoscope, it feels a lot like that because there's so much detail put into it and so much thought put into it. And, sure, it's for the marketing and making money and stuff, but it really, to me, when I played with it, was this huge world, with like a lot of possibilities. And we pretended like there was the girls that didn't fit in, and we pretended like they were incredibly fat and pregnant, and uncomfortable. And we pretended that, that, like I said, yeah, like that an adult Barbie could have been a 15-year-old Barbie, and a adolescent Barbie could have been a 30-year-old mom, and
Right.
it's just
Just
a
like you
matter of
take
how
on
you.
those roles when you're playing.
Yeah, yeah, and you don't have to have. It's like you don't have to have different um, bodysuits to dress in. When you're playing dress up, to imagine
Right.
yourself as a different kind of person. Um, so I mean, so I don't know if it. I don't know if it's. I don't know. I think a lot of it has changed because of having so much stuff around Barbie movies and Barbie TV shows and
Yeah,
books
that's
and all
probably
that
true.
stuff. Because then they gave Barbie a script, and
Right.
so then this is what Barbie does. Barbie has a pool. Barbie has pool parties. Barbie is in love with Surfer Ken, and it's just
Yeah.
this very mono line of what she is. Um, there's this show that I think is a parody of um, what's it? I think it's a parody of like reality shows, and also a parody of like the Barbie show. It's called Barbie Life in the Dream House. It's on Netflix. Cassidy found it and asked to watch it once, and I watch everything pretty much.
Yeah.
Anything that she watches with her. Watched it and right away was like, nope, we're not doing this. um, but it's making fun of Barbie, and it's supposed to be making fun of Barbie. It's supposed to be ridiculous and over the top. But what they had, nope, lost my train of thought. I do that a lot. Um, um, what was I gonna say? Everybody has a pool party. Oh, they joke about how old she is. They're having a birthday party for her, and they joke about how old she is because they're like, well, I know she went to medical school, and that takes 11 years, and I know she was an astronaut and went into
Oh,
space, and that training takes however long, and so they're like joking about the age that she is. But that's because, to me, Barbie was never one person. Barbie doesn't need to be Barbie,
right.
I don't know.
Whatever you're pretending she is in that moment. I can see
Yeah.
that. I never really played with Barbies, so I can't really speak to that. I played with baby dolls, and
Hmm.
I always just pretended I was the mom. But
Yep.
um, but yeah, I never had the experience with Barbie dolls really, that you're talking about. Um,
So if somebody does Stella have any? Does Stella have a Barbie?
She doesn't. My grandma has some at her house. I guess I actually did play with those at my grandma's when I was little, but I was never really into them. I remember
Yeah.
my cousins being into them, but I just never really was. And I don't think my mom was either, so that probably has something to do with it. I just didn't have them.
Yeah.
And I think I saw, when my friends were playing with them, I saw more of the fashion part
Hmm.
of it, getting her dressed, and I just that just wasn't fun for me, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, but
Which, I mean,
okay,
that's
if
I would
someone gave
like.
one to,
Yeah. If someone
oh,
gave one to Stella, what would you do?
I would, I don't know, I mean, let her play with it, of course, and um, however she wanted, just like I let her play with her other toys however she wants and create her own storylines with them, and
Hmm.
be imaginative and creative. Um, but the feminist in me probably would balk a little bit at the unrealistic. Well, I don't want to say unrealistic because there are women like that, like we've
Right.
talked about, but um, it's not healthy, I guess, for everyone's body type to be that
Right.
size.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
So, So I think I don't remember at all what I said because this was a long time ago, and there was a lot of things that were happening with Cassidy getting older at the same time. So I seem to remember her when she first got those toys from the girl, and they had all the fashion stuff with them. They had
Right.
all these, sparkly, huge princess dresses and, slinky
Yeah.
outfits and stuff like that. And she wasn't really interested in that, but she did dress him up and was talking about, just being pretty and stuff. And there was a lot of other queen, princess, kinds of things at the same time with her just, her own pretend play when she was being something. Um,
Yeah.
but so if she was playing with it and had said something, if Stella was playing with it and had said something about her being pretty, or I hope I look like her, or I want to be like her when I get older, what would be something that you on the spot? Because it would be on the spot, obviously, if
Right.
she was saying it. What would you say to that? What would you say to something like that?
We talk a lot anyway about being about how she's strong and she's smart and she's healthy and she's beautiful. We kind of use all of those things clumped together. I mean, I know they're separate things, but we don't single out beauty or looks over anything else. And even when other people in our lives do that by saying how cute she is, or, oh,
Mm-hmm.
she looks so cute in that dress, or whatever, we'll usually say something like, yeah, she does, and she's just so much fun too, or
Uh-huh.
and she's so smart, or whatever, so that she's hearing that on a regular basis. And so if she said something about um, wanting to look like the doll, or wanting to look like a Barbie, that would be really tough for me. I I would probably just ask her why, what she liked about
Yeah.
Barbie, help her explore it as long as entertain that idea as long as she needed to, and then talk about the things that she likes about herself. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
what would you
Yeah.
do?
And you could. Well, that's what I think how I did say it at the time was just saying, why do you want to look like that, or why do you want to be like that? And I think I was lucky for the lack of an awkward conversation because she said something like, because she's, because she's whatever, because she's a singer and she
Oh,
likes to
right.
sing and I like to sing, like, so she was calling it because she looked like it. She looked like a performer, you know, um, but then she was attributing that look to a profession, saying,
Right. So
or a
that's it.
talent or an interest, and so
Yeah.
then it's like, oh yeah, that if you're interested in singing, that's a really cool thing. Did you know that you can do that when you go to school? There's things, or you can do it at church. You know that there's a lot of different ways that you can be a singer. That would be great if that's something that you're interested in.
Right.
What songs do you
Not.
like to sing now? Let's go get a microphone and sing some stuff. Um, so I think I got lucky on the actual one. But I mean, I know she talks about being beautiful, and she talks about being, um, a queen, and she talks about dressing up, and we talk a lot about, merit and interests and intelligence and problem solving and persistence and stuff like that. And so the personality that she invented for herself for a while was uh, Queen Queen Ballet Princess Ninja. No, Pirate. Queen Ballet Princess Pirate was the
That's
first one.
awesome.
Yeah, and so it's like, and so then you talk about what does that mean, and it's like, well, I'm a queen, but I also wear ballet clothes and I can dance, but I'm a pirate, so I can, uh, go on adventures and find treasure. And then now, like, she has this really consistent persona that she calls Hike Ninja, and it's like a hiker, backpacker, camper merged together with a ninja.
Oh, cool.
And ninja to her, basically, for a really long time, up until really recently, just meant being sneaky, and
Yeah.
pretty much that was it. And now she kind of has gotten a little bit of the fighting part of it and stuff. And me and Chris did martial arts, and so we're kind of encouraging, the fighting part of it too. So
Yeah.
so we're just, I mean, like, so just, and it comes up, and I try really hard not to belittle it because, I, I mean, I don't know if I'm totally convinced that it is just a construct of our current culture. Like, animals are interested in being beautiful. Animals do things to themselves to make themselves more attractive.
That's
There's,
true.
you know, it's a natural thing. So I don't want to like talk about necessarily not wanting to aspire to it because from one perspective, beauty is just being taken care of, and taking care of yourself and being healthy and all of that stuff. And it's good to aspire to having a healthy glow, because it means you're
Right.
drinking enough, and it means you're so I don't want to like completely discourage it. But what I do try to do a lot is separate outfits from her, and separate,
Yes.
like separate dressing up. And I talk a lot about makeup as being like dress up. Like, this is not who
Yeah.
you are. Makeup is not who you are. This is not a requirement of being a woman. This does not mean anything. This is just like dress up. You're doing something
Right.
special, and so it's like dress up. Or, you're doing your hair. You don't have to do your hair. It doesn't matter if you do your hair, but,
Yeah.
in a specific circumstance, we're doing something different. And so, but I have a problem when she doesn't want to brush her hair. She doesn't like how it feels. It bothers her. Ponytails bother her, and she has crazy hair. And I know people think she looks ridiculous sometimes when she's out, and I have a hard
Same
time because
here.
I know that
I totally relate.
yeah, it's socially acceptable to have brushed hair. And if you don't
Right.
have hair that can be brushed and fine, then it's the social norm top, especially in little girls. Um, and I know because she goes around and plays with other people, and they're like, "Let's put your hair in pigtails. It would be so cute."
Right.
And I understand it. I understand the social norm. I understand that it looks like I don't take care of my child because her hair is all just crazy, or flying around.
But you don't
But
want
I
to
also don't
emphasize
know.
that
Yeah,
you
I
don't want
don't
to
want to say
emphasize
no.
that
You have to brush your hair.
to look a
Yeah, you
certain
you
way.
have to
So
brush your hair before you leave the
we want it
house.
that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I have people, um, I have people that I know that won't go outside of the house if they haven't washed their hair and, styled it. Like, literally won't go out of the house. Like, no, absolutely not. I will
Yeah.
be late to whatever we're doing before I leave the house like this. Um,
Yeah.
so I don't know. It's very tricky between socially acceptable and socially normal, and then idealizing, and aspiring to be whatever the stereotype of beauty is or whatever.
Right. Um, and you talked about how it's normal to aspire to be beautiful, or and how animals even do that. Um, I think that my problem with it is um, our the media's view on beauty and how they distort it for our kids. And Barbie, I guess, is just an example of that.
Right.
But with airbrushing and I don't know, making everyone perfect. Um, I want Stella to be whatever she wants to be, and I want her to have choices and um, choose what she wants to wear and all of that. But not so much now since she's 2, but as she gets older, the media plays such a big part in that choice just
Mm-hmm.
becomes kind of clouded by what everyone else is throwing at them.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, their
When you,
own desires get lost in that.
right. And yeah, and just what is expected, and what is basically required, and what is just dressing up, and just liking to have color on your face. And it's when you get down to it and you start to explain it, it gets kind of messy. Like,
Yeah.
why do you shave your legs? I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Right.
I can't answer that. I mean,
Well,
but yeah, but like, why? hair grows on your legs normally. I bet boys that have hair on their legs their whole life, I bet that feels pretty normal.
Right.
And she asked me that, and I said, really, I don't know. It's just something that right now in America, that's what girls do, and I don't know why I'm doing it, except that I am, because I mean, it's not expected. I didn't say that, but I said it's just something that people do, and sometimes people just pick weird things to do. Plucking hairs individually out of your face, that's another one. You know? But, you know, I mean, but my, you know, not particularly focused on fashion or appearance mom, you know, got me a razor to shave my legs when I asked if I could.
Yeah.
You know, at some weird random age that didn't make sense then either. You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't, I don't know. I don't know. And the other thing is that, you know, when you talk about this, when people talk about this, they talk about, you know, that version of beauty. You know, you shouldn't aspire to that version of beauty. You should aspire to what exactly? You
Your
know?
own version of beauty, yourself. I don't know either.
It's like that's what I feel
Maybe
like. I feel like a lot of when people talk about this, you know how like if you have a bad habit, you're not just supposed to take away the habit, you're supposed to like replace it with something. You're supposed to replace the
yeah.
habit with something acceptable. I feel like there's no replacement for talking about this kind of thing.
I
And you
think
know,
that
people say, go ahead.
I think that I think you're right. There isn't a replacement. I think that the focus in our society has to shift off away from looks, because we're so appearance.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We're obsessed with appearances, and um, until we can move away from that and see individuals and see personalities and character traits, then we're kind of stuck there. But I think that that's why this doll is a good step in the right direction, um, because those that shift won't happen until we're mindful about all of these issues.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And that's definitely, I mean, I think that makes pretty much all the difference with, you know, you still don't have all the answers, and what are you going to say if your kid's exposed to Barbie and you don't want them to be? But just knowing that it's something that should be thought about, you know, that,
right,
you know, I think that's really, yeah, that's the main thing. As long as you're thinking about it, and as long as it's not just, yeah, whatever, watch whatever, do whatever, play however you want, you know, as long as there's conversation, you know, about
right,
growing up and about what you want to be. And but this was interesting because I was thinking the replacement in conversations that I've had has always been things like character attributes. But the problem with that is things like, you say, intelligence, right? Like, focus on being smart. But that's not great
not
either
everybody is
because there's,
smart. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I mean, not, you know, not everybody is smart, or not everybody's smart in the same way. You know, not
right,
everybody is studious. Not everybody, you know, is good detail-oriented people. Not everybody can do big picture stuff. You know, there's like a lot of different kinds. So you can't, it's like you just, there's no cheat. You can't aspire to be one thing. It doesn't
right.
work. No. Um, and so that's why, as kind of hippie as it sounds, you know, being you basically works, you know, and it just sounds very hippie, and, you know, I'm just, you know, like, I won't go off onto the let the kids play tangent that's connected to that. It sounds hippie, but it's not hippie. It's find out what you have natural abilities in and where you naturally excel, and then better yourself. But that doesn't fit on a inspirational card to your, you know, 10-year-old daughter.
Right.
It's just not a good, there's not a good shortcut. There needs to be a
I
good catchphrase.
Yeah. I think that in play with like either of these dolls, Lamely or Barbie, I mean, it doesn't matter. They're both um, everybody's focusing on the appearance of this second doll just the same way that everybody's
Right.
focused on the
Yeah.
appearance of Barbie. And I think that so in play with your kids with either one of those dolls, you just have to not limit limit her role. I mean, yeah,
Right.
Barbie doesn't just have pool parties like you were talking about. Barbie can
Yeah.
be a doctor. Barbie can, and so can Lamely. Lamely can, it doesn't matter what you look like. Either one of them can do any of these things.
Yeah. Oh, that was another thing from the video when they said what jobs could she have?
Oh, yes.
And they listed out all of the jobs. So what was your thought with that? Because I have a very specific thought, and I was wondering if you thought the same thing. What do you think about that?
I thought that was really interesting. Most of the kids said that Barbie was a model or something similar to that. There were a couple other responses, but they mostly revolved around being a model. And that that Lamely could be a teacher and I don't remember what the other things were for her, but
Yeah, I don't really remember.
um,
Yeah.
I noted the only thing that I guess that really stood out to me about that question was that they were all still putting the dolls in very gender specific roles,
Yeah. Yeah.
traditional views
That's very true.
of gender. Um, so that was a little bit frustrating. Um,
And what I was thinking is that it was the way that it was framed and the way that they were shooting it, to show that this is great that Lamely can be all these other things, is that you're saying that the things that Barbie can be are not good things to aspire to be, you know?
right. Yeah.
Which it's fine if there's somebody that's good at doing makeup on people. That's an okay thing to do too.
Right.
And it kind of, when you say, you know, it's like well, you shouldn't just be a nurse because you're a girl. You should be a doctor. Well, what if your personality is for a nurse?
Right.
Or it's like how people, there was a speech at the beginning of the school year last year, and somebody said something about we're all a family, even the custodial staff. And I'm like,
Oh, geez.
are you singling them out? Like, we'll even include you guys. Like,
Right.
you're doing them a
Lucky you.
favor. And
Oh,
it's just, and it's we're used to this kind of political conversation of the deprivation of the person who's not in power or not in authority or not, whatever. And so in this case, it's like, yeah, Barbie is great and wonderful and beautiful and a model. And then but since it's not good that you're aspiring to be beautiful, then you shouldn't want to be a model, and that's not a good job, and you shouldn't aspire to that because that's associated with all the other stuff. Like,
right.
I feel like when they said, what was it, they said swim instructor for both. Did you notice that? Swim teacher?
No, I didn't notice
Both of them could be
that.
swim teachers, yes. But anyway, that kind of thing. Swim teacher, I should have watched it again. Swim teacher, makeup artist, fashion designer. Like, Barbie could be those things, and the other girl could be not those things. Like, why couldn't
Right.
Lamely be a fashion designer? She
Yeah.
should be able to be a fashion designer just as much as anybody should be able to be a fashion designer. And that's a
Yeah.
real job, and people really do it, and people really need to do it. I mean,
Right.
it's kind of belittling by association. It's kind of that you shouldn't want to be skinny, and you shouldn't want to smile, and you shouldn't giggle, because that means something about you. No, I just giggle. That's just what I do. My hair came out of my head blonde. That's just what happened.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Uh, let's see. Oh, okay. So, is there anything else you were thinking of with that one specifically? Oh, I know. So, as an early childhood educator, talk more about what you would do if you were inventing a new set of well-crafted, well-used dolls, which you kind of already talked about a little bit, but
Yeah. I think that the key is what you just said, a set of dolls. And that yeah, I don't know. My ideal doll probably would be a doll that represented the child who was playing with it,
mm-hmm.
or a doll just that was very open-ended that the child could create to be whatever they wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was creating a set of dolls to market, then I would just do, I think, a huge variety of different sizes, of different abilities, different colors, um, all
Different
of that.
heights.
Just include, yes, different heights, just a lot of diversity. But again, I think that
Different
the perfect,
hair.
yeah,
Seriously.
curly hair for a change.
Yes, for real. Frizzy hair that doesn't lay flat, even if you flat iron it.
Yes.
Yes.
Um, but again, I think the ideal doll would just be one that the child could take and imagine and kind of a blank slate. I don't know if you're familiar with like the Waldorf dolls that don't even have faces, really. They don't have, they might have
Yeah.
eyes, but they're just kind of imagined to be there. And I took one of those dolls one time, or one like it, and I asked Stella, where where's the mouth on this doll? And she pointed to where our mouth would be. I mean, they can see those things on a doll
Uh-huh.
even when we can't see them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they imagine them, and that's just a little bit more open-ended and
Yeah.
creative.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the idea about having one that represents the kid is a really cool thought because in early childhood we talk about setting up the classroom and like in the environmental rating scales it talks about um, representing a certain number of different races, which is again ridiculous, or cultures, races, whatever their terminology is, that as if you can't be I don't know. I can't even make something up. But like the set of racially accurate dolls or whatever, that one of them is Caucasian and one of them's Asian and one of them's
Oh,
African
right.
American and one of them's Hispanic, and they're labeled that way and they come that way. And then we had the early childhood rater come in and say that we didn't have enough diversity because we had two white babies. And I mean, I don't know what else to say except I'll get you
Wow.
the website that I ordered them on. That's not a white baby, that's an Asian baby. Like, so anyway, so having, yeah, it's not a matter of having everything represented or every stereotypical looking thing represented, you know.
Right,
But yeah, having represented what the child is, and then also having things that aren't what the child is, in
right,
whatever way that is, just to get it normalized in their minds that this isn't something that you even need to think about. This doesn't even need to be something that you're processing in your mind, really, any differently than a lot of people think of brown hair versus black hair, like
right.
it shouldn't be much more of a consideration. It's just another way of looking, as opposed to saying there are people in the world that live in Africa that have this color of skin, or that or things like that, because yeah,
Right.
it's just re-emphasizing the thought process of looks. Like, it should just not be that big of a deal. It just doesn't need to be that big of a deal.
Right.
And yet when you go to early childhood classrooms and if you ask a teacher to talk about skin color, like, have you ever done that? Did you ever
No?
talk about skin color? Yeah,
No.
people don't want to do
Yeah.
it because it's kind of scary. Because it's not something that we talk about as just another thing. People do charts of eye color all the time, like to
Yeah.
do a graph with preschoolers of eye color, but
Right.
people will not talk about skin color. And I mean,
That's true.
they'll even have the Crayola, this represents all of the culture's skin, which, by the way, does not have my color of skin in it. There is no blue, pink, yellow color in it. Uh, there is no light enough color in there to get my skin color. But anyway, other than me not being represented by Crayola here, they'll do that. But that's pretty much. I don't think I've ever seen much more than that. I finally had seen articles talking about comparison because, for seriation, putting things in order, ordering people from lightest to darkest skin
Oh,
is
yeah.
really interesting.
Yeah.
But then you're kind of treading on the idea of putting people in order and then the skin color meaning something else, you
Yeah.
know? Because it, for some reason, I mean, still, even though it doesn't mean this, it still means something more to people. Anyway, back to the dolls. um, with what dolls you would make. Oh, so American dolls, American Girl dolls.
Oh,
You know
yes.
American Girl dolls? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
where you can make one that looks exactly like you.
Yes, and
Which
that is
I always,
awesome. Um,
yeah,
I um, I have I know of a couple who has a daughter um, who is missing part of her arm, and they asked American Doll to make a doll like that. And I hope I'm getting this story right, but American Doll didn't or wouldn't, and so I don't know where they draw the line with like disabilities and stuff like that, different abilities,
yeah.
um,
I know that they
because I think
have
that's too.
wheelchairs and stuff,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, and then again, when it started, at least when I knew of when it started, my grandma is a collector of things like that, and so a long time ago, she had showed them to me and asked if I would want one. She wanted to get one for all the granddaughters that like looked like them,
Yeah.
and then since then, then they did a lot of stuff with the books, and then there's American Doll shows and stuff like that too, now, and
Yeah.
you're supposed to collect the story um, and I don't remember. Have you ever been to an American Girl doll store in a
No, I
mall?
haven't.
They have they have like a salon, a doll-sized salon, and the workers there will actually do the hair of the dolls there, like
Oh,
for real,
wow.
like as if you pay for it. And
Oh
I
my
think they do.
gosh.
I think they'll clean the skin, like which but
Wow.
yeah, it's like real life. You take the doll in and do stuff and pay more money. So the idea of it is so awesome, and there is such variety, except that again, it's just like such surface variety. Like they have differing interests, which is really cool to have. Like I'm pretty sure I could get one with a hockey stick. A girl with a hockey stick and a hockey
Yeah.
jersey. Wouldn't that be awesome? So that's really cool. But when you look at the Caucasian doll, there's like a brown haired version, and the face is the same. The hairstyle's different, the interests are different, but the face is still the same. And so it's almost individualized, but still it's just that everybody has a little cute button nose, and they have different teeth too. They have
Right.
different
It's
smiles too, which is really cool, but
yeah,
it's
but in
getting
so
there.
many
It's
ways,
something.
but it's still in so many ways, it's celebrating oneness instead of like actual diversity.
Yeah. Yeah. So interesting. Okay, well, that's probably good for that topic. Do you have ideas about what we should do in the future? Um, I just had so many just varied ideas run through my head, and we had the people that commented, and one of them said the importance of kids getting dirty,
Yes.
um, and one of them said the importance of sensory play, and one of them said the importance of skin-to-skin contact at
Mhm.
birth and shortly after. And so me and Nancy were talking about just very little bit about those three options to do a first one, and we were both just not quite having a lot of ideas surrounding them. Um, and I was thinking one of the reasons that I kind of feel that way is because I don't really want to have a why you should do something podcast. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's not what we're about.
We
We
just want to talk
I mean,
about things.
yeah. Well, and that's I think
Help
that's
you form your
I
own opinions on
right,
by bringing
right,
up different sides of
right.
issues.
Yeah. Um, and I know both of us had very interesting experiences going from early childhood educator to mom. And so, it's like I wouldn't dare assume to know, somebody's specific circumstances and exactly what they should do. I would never,
Right.
never.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's I don't want to do what you should do, but I was thinking that if we could do it more from a perspective of, um, you know, when I was an early childhood educator, I did this because or doing it based on this is what other people suggested. What do you think about it? What maybe haven't they thought of yet? Or what stereotypes are they falling into that they're trying not to fall into, but they're just going the opposite way, or things like that, where it's just not that it's, forming a case for one conclusion, but like discussing how you can get to a conclusion, maybe. I don't know. That's just what I was thinking of. I've been thinking about a lot of stuff the last couple of days.
What you're saying.
I suppose that's a problem with doing a podcast, is because that's how a lot of our conversations go. We say a bunch of things, and then it's like, I don't know if I'm saying what I mean to, and you're like, oh, I get it. I know what you're trying to say. That might not translate well to.
Everyone else get it.
Yeah. But anyway, so one of the things I was thinking of, in addition to those three topics that people commented on, because I don't want to ignore them, because that's really cool that people said what they're interested in. I was thinking of some other like really different things, like the idea of the immigrants coming from South American countries, Central American countries through Mexico, young children, people coming with like 10 and 12-year-old people making the trek with their younger siblings and stuff like that. I was thinking that'd be a really interesting thing to talk about.
We have a lot of we have a lot of Hispanic families in Holton whose kids have come to join them recently. So
really,
that would be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be, and that's in Garden City, Kansas, where I'm originally from. There's a very large Hispanic population, and I had an experience when I was in high school. I mean, several experiences, but this specific one, I think, is my junior year, where I walked into a couple classes and didn't really notice anything, and and it was right after lunch, and I walked into one of my classes, and we were missing like 10 people out of 30, and
oh wow,
somebody said something about, I wonder where everybody is or something like that, and somebody told the teacher, immigration services went through the meat packing plant last night, so their parents are, whatever happens to parents when they are undocumented.
Oh, wow.
Which, if you listen to it, it's a really, really crazy system of what happens when parents get, especially if they've had the child in America, because then it's not that they're undocumented citizens, they are legal American citizens with undocumented parents. And so anyway, I didn't know that Holton had that kind of population too. That's really interesting.
Yep, and still growing. Wow. Yeah.
Cool. So that'd be interesting. Let me look. I think I wrote down 2 other things I was thinking of. Or like 20. I don't know. Oh, that's the wrong line. Did you think of anything else specifically that you'd like to talk about?
I had some ideas, but my mind is completely blank now that I'm trying to think of them. I should have wrote them down.
The oppressed population. Children as an oppressed population.
Yes, definitely that.
Right? I wanted to start with that, but I felt like that was a little bit too much of us, to start with, a little too specific. Well, I mean, and it's not something that there's a lot of literature on, it's kind of
no, it's not.
A brand new idea even. So anyway, I thought that would be good as long as once we got comfortable with it. And then I was also thinking of just early childhood in the school district and that kind of role. But that I don't know. Yeah. And then I was thinking of the idea of letting kids play. And then on my note that I wrote, we might just get angry though if we did that.
That's true. We'll be yelling at our screen.
And I don't understand. The research is there. Yeah. But anyway, I thought that would be a good one that we could just probably just say, okay, play, go, and talk about it. So
definitely.
Those are some other things, some other ideas. Okay. Well, do you want that to be the end of our broadcast?
What?
Do you want that to be the end of our broadcast for today?
That sounds good to me.
Okay. Well, we will hopefully get this posted tonight, we'll say, at least by the weekend. Maybe tonight. I'll see how it turned out. If we even get it recorded, we'll see how this goes. Yeah. And I'm going to hit stop broadcast, but I can still talk to you after I hit it. So you
Okay.
don't have to go away. Okay. All right.
All right. Are we
All
done
right.
recording?
We'll talk to you next time, I guess.